Good afternoon. This is Kelly McKenney Golden, and I am presenting for EDL 850 School Law. Just a little bit about myself before I get started on my school and kind of legal aspects. So my original degree was a bachelor's in history and archaeology, and I actually had graduated early, so I stayed on for my first master's in teaching and became a social studies teacher initially. And I was a regular ed social studies teacher for 10 years. And then after that, actually while doing that, I completed my second master's in counseling and my CAGS in mental health. But to become a certified mental health counselor, certified with the Board of Health, I had to do about 2,000 clinical hours. And I wasn't going to be able to do that with teaching and kind of my activity load that I had as a teacher. So I left teaching so I could do those clinical hours. But then I went back into schools as an administrator in a neighboring state. I was an administrator in Massachusetts. And I worked both in a clinical position in the school, but also as a building administrator. And then more recently, about 3 years ago, I took a position as a mental health counselor in a Rhode Island school, which is actually very rare. Rhode Island schools typically do not hire mental health counselors. They only hire social workers, but I was hired to do both clinical support as well as psychological testing. So right now I'm in Newport Public Schools in Newport, Rhode Island. And it was the first school in Rhode Island to ever hire a licensed mental health counselor. So I have that position of both clinical support and psychological evaluations there. Demographically, for Newport Public Schools, it is a school district of about 2,500 students. There are only three schools within the district. There's an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school. And I go between the middle school and the high school doing the clinical support and psychological evaluations. And it is a very diverse community. It is much more of an urban community. It is seaside community. It's a tourist community. And very seasonal. Their busy season is in the summer when the weather is a lot warmer, but it is very much an urban community and very diverse. I would say just to kind of give an idea, our free and reduced lunch across the district is about at 65%. So a little bit about my current school administration and the law. I've seen some interesting things in Newport, I have to say. Previously I was in two other districts. So I was in a district in Massachusetts and I was also in a district in Rhode Island. And things seemed very clear and a lot less ambiguous in those two districts. Here, even though the law is very clear, I don't always see administration, and in particular upper administration, following it. I've been actually consulted on a number of cases regarding child welfare and what to do in those situations. And, as a mandated reporter, I have always been, instructed to, file with DCYF if there is a concern, the Department of Children and Families, if there's a concern. But I have been told straight out on several times by upper administration that we were not going to do that, that they were going to handle things differently. I've also been told that in cases when there should have been police involvement to the nature of if there's threats against the school, to notify the police, especially if there's a weapon involved. And I've been told that they weren't going to move in that direction as well. But then in other cases, complete opposite effect, and actually, reporting and doing what I had always been, kind of taught to do. I guess the biggest thing that I see with law in my current district is that there really isn't a lot of consistency, which I find really interesting because to me, the law, it's written and the policies and procedures are written so you have something to go to and something to follow by, and so you don't have to be kind of make your own determinations. You can just look to the law, but that doesn't always seem to be the case where I am now. My personal knowledge of the law, there's certainly a huge focus on special education law in my field. Again, I do psychological evaluations. So I do cognitive reevaluations and clinical evaluations for the district. So qualifying for special education or continue to qualify, and the laws that go around that are really kind of central to my job, kind of the timelines that go around that. The 10-day timeline to get an initial referral in, the 60-day timeline to get the evaluations completed, and, knowledge around the legal implications of eligibility category. That's really kind of where most of my legal background comes from. I also have quite a bit of background now related to the Every Student Succeeds Act, the ESSA laws. In particular, I am really kind of the identified person in our district currently that handles any of the ESSA requirements around residency. So we have a couple of group homes or residential homes in our district, and we often have students moving in and out. And part of the ESSA guidelines is that for every child to succeed, the rationale is that the student can stay at their school of origin even if they move out of a district. So a lot of times we'll have students that move into our district that will be living in one of our residential facilities, but won't necessarily go to our school because they're maintaining in their other district according to the ESSA guidelines. Or really more often than not, we have a lot of students coming in that do end up coming to our school because there are safety or legal concerns on their end about staying in their school of origin. So I've really become pretty well versed in how ESSA works and kind of the kind of all of the details that go around that. I guess how I can really stay on top of legal procedures and policies as an administrator or as a up-and-coming administrator, I think to really always be aware and always be learning is really the most important thing. I do find legal policies to be and laws in general to be really interesting. When I was a history major, I always found that aspect of history very interesting because it really does kind of tell you a lot about the people of a time period when you reflect on their laws and the laws that are developed. And I think it's even true for education today. If you really want to understand the evolution of the education system, you really should stay abreast of the new laws federally and the new laws within your state. And it would be my job as the administrator to stay on top of that. And then if I wasn't sure about an answer about something, to be able to contact our person within district, our lawyer within district, and ask them to share some information or guidelines on how to handle a particular situation, and really just kind of always being open to those new ideas. So just to wrap up, because I did forget before, you'll see just a little bit more of my personal background. You see the two pictures there. You see me and my husband and one of our dogs, Poe, at the beach. And then you'll see my husband and our son, Gavin, who is going to be 3 on June 10th. I am super busy this month, as I mentioned to Dr. G. We are still in school currently, almost until the end of the month, till the 24th. Because we had a couple of snow days, but we also had a couple of gas outage days where the whole district was shut down because there wasn't gas service to the island for 4 days. So we were shut down for that. So we're in till June 24th. But also in the process, I have my own private practice where I see clients privately, and I am moving. Our closing is supposed to be June 27th. So I'm very, very busy. So I can't wait to meet everybody in the course, and I hope to hear from everybody soon. Thank you so much.